I'm not sure how many people will actually care about this, but to me it's very important. Hopefully you will see why. What we have here is obviously the 12 signs of the zodiac that were defined in remote antiquity, through which the sun travels throughout the year, month by month. They are roughly divided evenly throughout the year into sections of 30 days. And this makes what's called the tropical year. The sun travels through each sign month by month. Everyone knows that. But everyone does not know of what is known as the precession of the equinoxes. Just as the sun travels throughout the year, month by month, through the stars, the actual solstices and the equinoxes retrogress as the centuries count by, which is to say that over the centuries and over the millennia, the actual signs that the sun is in at the time of the equinox and the solstices changes over time, about every 2100 years, according to the tropical design. So that we are now in the age of Pisces, transitioning into the age of Aquarius. The whole idea of the age of Aquarius is about the precession of the equinox and the sun going into that sign. So when the equinox transitioning into that sign. So that over the thousands of years it changes. Every 2100 years, the whole cycle is almost 26,000 years. You divide that by 12 and you get 2160 years. So if you say that Aquarius starts at 2100 AD, as in this figure here, then Pisces began 60 BC and is roughly equivalent to the age of Christianity, the age of the fish, the age of grace. Before that you had Aries, for the 2100 years before that, going back to 2200 BC. And that's the age of the law. Before that you had the age of Taurus, going back to 4380 BC, which would have been the age of the Melchizedek. And then before that you have Gemini, twins, going back to 6500 BC, which is in the age, supposedly, of Adam and Eve. And of course then you go all the way back around and it goes all the way back to where it is now, 26,000 years ago at 23,800 BC, when it was where it is now. Okay. Here is a star chart, a star map of the entire sky, 360 times 180 degrees. This is basically a Mercator map projection of the night sky, from north to south, and you can see very clearly the entirety of the Milky Way galaxy as it spans from north to south, and then loops back around on the other side, which makes the apparent arc. Alright, so then we have the star chart here, showing again the Milky Way against the backdrop of the constellations themselves, which are outlined. Also we have the equator in the center as a purple line, and the yellow line is the ecliptic, which is the apparent path the sun takes through the year. Now it's going the opposite direction, it's going from right to left. You have Pisces, then Aries, Taurus, Gemini, on down through here, through the year, down to Sagittarius and Capricorn, and back to Aquarius again in January. Okay, so I took this chart and I marked out the 4 points in the course of the year, which are the 4 cardinal points. It just so happens they put the edge of the map here is the vernal or spring equinox. Again, like I say, in the age of Pisces, right here on the cusp, going into the age of Aquarius, you can see right here is right here on the edge. And then, of course, in the center is the fall equinox, because they're on the equator. It's where the sun, this is the path of the sun, 23 degrees south, 23 degrees north, and here's where it crosses the equator, which is where the equinoxes are at these times. So then it goes through, and here is the summer solstice, and it goes down to the fall equinox and the winter solstice, and then back up again to the spring equinox. Okay. So I marked out the divisions of the constellations of the zodiac and the date in which they are given in the tropical year. So you start off with Pisces, where we are now, for the vernal equinox, starting February 20th, going to March 20th, for a total of 29 days. Now these are the actual months. This is actually why you have 12 months in the calendar. It's because you have 12 signs in the zodiac. And then you go through Aries, 31 days, Taurus, 31 days. You have basically 6 sets of 31 and 6 sets of 30. But Pisces and Sagittarius are 29 days, and Virgo is 32 days. So you take the 2 days off of Virgo, give them to Sagittarius and Pisces, and you end up with 7 days, or 7 months of 30 days, and 5 of 31, which are the 5 extra days, giving you a total of 365 days out of the year. And I've always used this, like I just showed in the processional table, that in association with the Bible and the concept of the ages. Most people don't understand the concept of the ages, but there is the age of the law and the age of grace. This is known as dispensationalism. And of course the age of grace started with Christ, who completed the law by his own covenant, because he began the law, he created it, and gave it to Abraham. Abraham began the age of the law, the Abrahamic covenant, about 2000 BC. And of course, if you follow the biblical genealogy and trace back the dates, the lifespans, it goes back to 4000 BC for Adam, the creation of Adam, at 4000 BC. So in every 2000 years, there's a transition into another phase, and that is equal to the zodiacal ages, like I just said. But there is a problem, and I did not realize it until I came across the idea that there are the months according to the zodiac actually are not all equal. That the sun spends a different amount of days in each of the months. And so I plotted these dates out as well. And I came across something that I think is important. Okay, so you start off with Pisces, and it goes through the year, and it stays in Pisces 38 days. And then it goes into Aries on April 19th, stays there 25 days, then goes to Taurus on May 14th and stays there for 37 days, and so on and so forth. And this also adds up, all of these add up to 365 days as well. But what it is the backdrop here of the constellations. All the red lines outline the different constellations. And if you plot the months out, charting out when the actual path of the sun crosses over into the delineation the actual delineation for that constellation, you get these dates here instead of the homogenized 30-day average, so that you end up with the obvious divisions here, the difference. Virgo having the most at 45 days, and then Taurus at 37 days. You can see that they're offset from the solstices and equinoxes, before that they were aligned with them. And then you get into these three here with just 18 days and 7 days apiece. As you add in, actually, in the tropical year of 12 months, Ophiuchus and Scorpio were 1 month. But that's not the case, because actually the sun only goes through the tail of Scorpio. It's actually below the ecliptic. And Ophiuchus is the sign that comes down in its place, and is the 13th sort of hidden sign. And God had already led me to create a perpetual calendar, create a new calendar, which was devoid of all of the paganism associated with the Gregorian calendar. And so I actually made a new calendar based off of the sun. It's a perpetual calendar, which is of 13 months of 28 days. And I feel that this is actually the true calendar that God intends to use. And that the Gregorian calendar has been skewed from that obvious system. To me, the 13-month system is much better. The moon, people don't know this, but the moon and the sun both rotate around their axis. They spin on their own axis every 28 days. Not only are the sun and the moon the same side in the sky, they also have the same exact, well, roughly, basically the same exact period of rotation. And most people don't realize that at all. They don't even think about the sun spinning. But the sun does spin. Everything spins in the sky, at least according to science. And according to the sunspots that occur and other things, they determine that the period of the sun for rotation is actually also 28 days, same as the moon. And out of that, you end up with 13 months of 28 days. And it fits the cosmos. It fits reality, as opposed to the 12-month design, which is skewed from reality. It's offset. Anyway, so when I saw this, I immediately realized, well, if the sun is moving through these constellations, staying in them at different times, based off of the actual delineation of the constellations and the size, the relative size they are in the sky, then that means the precessional cycle itself is also different than the tropical year. So if you have the tropical zodiac given at an average of 30 days, then the tropical precession of the zodiac, or the equinoxes, would also be homogenized to 2160 years. And so you take 2160 and you divide it by 30. I will get my calculator out just to make sure. We'll do this. 2160 divided by 30 equals 72. But that's actually right, because it takes 72 years for the precession to shift 1 degree. Okay, and then you multiply that times the age of Pisces, 38, times 38 days, and it gives you the length of the actual age of Pisces at 2736. But then you add, because the age of Pisces actually began with Christ and his death at about 30 AD. So you add to that 30, and you get 2766 is the actual year. That's the actual duration, the age of Pisces. Now, Christ is said to return at the end of the Age of Grace, and if the Age of Grace is synonymous with the Age of Pisces, and he goes by these associations, these astronomical associations, which he actually does because most of Bible prophecy is talking about the stars. People do not realize this. The book of Revelation is actually 2/3 of it is him retelling Old Testament prophecy, and then 1/3 of it is his own. But in Old Testament prophecy and New Testament prophecy, there is an abundance of references to the stars and the zodiac. The 4 cherubs that hold up the throne are the 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac, which hold up the throne, which is the center of the, it's basically Polaris, is where the throne is, at the center, at the top. And everything spins around it. That's why it's the throne of heaven, because it is the heavens. And so you have the 4 cherubs are the 4 cardinal points of the zodiac. Which, of course, I mean, the 4 cardinal points are the 4, the solstices and the equinoxes. Those are the cardinal points, right? And so those are the signs, which is, like I say right now, it's going to be Virgo here, and then you've got Gemini, and you've got Pisces, and so on. But this changes over time. But anyway, my point is, if Christ is to return at the end of the Age of Grace, and the Age of Grace is 2,700 years, and not 2,100 years. The chart that I just showed earlier gave the beginning of Pisces at 60 BC. If you want to say that started, then you take 60 years off of 2730, 36. So then you actually subtract 90 from this number here, and you get the year AD 2676. Would be the end of the Age of Grace, or the Age of Pisces, which would be when Christ returns, and not, as everyone seems to want to believe in the Christian world, that his return is imminent in the next decade or something. And to me this is very important because he has always had me looking into these types of things, like I say, creating a calendar, creating a language. I feel like I'm supposed to do a lot of things. But anyway, so there you go. And so I thought I would make this video and put it up and share it with you. Thanks for watching and have a good day.